tax attorney Rebecca Walser. All right, this is kind of music to my ears.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that this is the first president that has had the impetus and nerve, if you will, to say, hey, you know, you're getting a lot of federal government support, at least in the way of free taxes. And if you're going to be a political entity, if you're going to actually espouse political viewpoints and actually diminish, you know, other viewpoints, it's not a balanced, you know, these safe spaces, these places now where you can't discuss anything because nothing is safe. It's a really interesting take to attack the tax status by basically saying you're no longer an educational institution that doesn't deserve to be paying taxes. You're a political entity with political speech.
Right. So my thought process here, you know, a lot of people are like, well, this is a dangerous slope, you know, like conservative universities. But conservative universities don't tolerate mass protests blocking people from classes like they're doing to Jewish students right now. Conservative universities don't fail you if you don't think the way they think.
Right. The conservative universities don't send out pamphlets to the Jewish students and say, you know, you're on your own. Like, good luck. I mean, you know, there's some stuff going on, but we're doing the best we can, but you're really on your own. So I think that there are so many parts of our society, Carl, that systemically have just been leveraged by the people that are wanting to push, you know, public resources for their causes. And I would say it's definitely on the left. And we have a president now that actually has the nerve to stand up and say, I'm not going to stand for this. You're not going to get federal tax benefits if you're not going to be a pure educational institution.
Correct. And the people whining about this now didn't say a word when Lois Lerner was shutting down 501c3s for
exactly right.
Tea Party groups. All
That's
right. So you're also quite a finance, I'd say, brain. Yeah. Fed Chair Jerome Powell refused to lower interest rates. And this is what was going on yesterday. Roll this.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
I don't know if this guy deliberately says things because he doesn't like Trump and he wants to hurt him, but typically throughout history, interest rates and inflation have always tried to stay about the same. He's holding those interest rates almost double what inflation is now.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing with Powell is that the Federal Reserve literally told us we were going to get 6 cuts the year before. We got 3. Then going into this year, we thought, okay, he said we're probably going to get 3 cuts. It went down to 2. Now that we have Trump coming in and implementing tariff policy, and it is going to have an impact, we've seen the impact, it's going to get worked through, but it's going to take some time. Powell is saying, you know, we probably won't do anything. And we have formal Federal Reserve members basically doing op-eds in Bloomberg saying, we don't need to support Trump's policy. So when you see that the Fed has become politicized, that is when there's cause for it's supposed to be independent. And so Trump is definitely going after something we call the Humphreys Executor, which is a 1935 Supreme Court ruling that said that that the independent agencies are independent and aren't subject to termination except for these very narrow things. And I think Trump is definitely seeking the Supreme Court to give him more leeway when it comes to Powell.
Well, also, in 1913, when you're $100 back then, when we were on the gold standard before the Fed started, that same $100 is worth $3 today. I mean, like, thanks a lot, Fed. Why don't we just abolish you and get rid of the federal income tax?
When we had the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009, and we decided to switch our monetary theory, our economic theory to modern monetary theory, which means print until the cows come home. Fake money, fake news, fake money, fake everything. Let's get it real. So, no, you're right, Carl. That is exactly what has happened. And we can't do it anymore because we are getting $1 trillion of new deficit every 100 days, which means we have entered the debt spiral stage, and it cannot continue.
Not cool. Rebecca Walser, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, comments for Carl finally after the break.